Hi FlossTube, I'm Nan Pope and I'm the difference maker. This is my YouTube channel regarding all things cross stitch. Sounds like I may be getting into punch needle, and I'll occasionally show you a little bit of quilting and maybe some of my photography. Today we're primarily going to be talking about cross stitch, so if that's what your interest is, then you're in the right place. It's been a little while since I did my last FlossTube. It was back before Thanksgiving, and life just kept getting in the way. Not that we've been anywhere, we just had lots of things going on, or either when I did have time, it was like a no makeup and dirty hair day, and I just was not going to go before the camera that way. So I'm just a little bit unorganized today because I'm a little out of the routine of doing FlossTube, but I wanted to make sure I jumped in here before the end of the year to just, first of all, wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and hopefully we'll all have a very blessed New Year. I guess I'll start by sharing with you, since I'm here by our Christmas tree, a couple of ornaments that have meant a lot to me. My husband and I are going to celebrate our 38th wedding anniversary on January the 8th. And because we got married right in the holiday season, a really wonderful friend of ours who was my next door neighbor when we lived in Birmingham, back when I was in high school and starting college, she threw me a bridal shower that was a Christmas shower, and it was all about decorating our tree. And so a couple of those ornaments I hang every year, and one of the ones that just means a lot to me is this little bride and groom. They're made out of clothespins. Aren't they sweet? Now this year, unfortunately, I broke my husband's right arm. Good thing he's a lefty. So I broke it. I intended to glue it back on, but it dropped to the bottom of our ornament box and I haven't been able to locate it. So maybe when we pack the ornaments up, I will find it. But these always hang together on our tree. And we also have Mr. and Mrs. Santa hang on our tree every year. I just think they're really sweet. And last year I made everyone, my two children, my younger son's wife, my older son's partner, my husband and I, little miniature stockings. And I gave all those to the kids, and I couldn't put my hands on the ones that I made for my husband and I this year, so I don't believe they're hanging on the tree. But one of the other ones that I made was, I learned about, and I'm probably not going to pronounce this properly, origami, something. It's crochet, and we've always loved little dachshunds, although we don't have any currently. But I made this little guy. He's crocheted, and he's basically his head, his ears, and his body and his scarf were all crocheted separately. And you actually crochet starting with like a magic circle, which is like a slip knot, and then you start going in circles to build the body, and then you have these little jut outs for his feet, his little face, and then I crocheted his little scarf and added his little tail, and he has little doll eyes that were added. But I thought he was really sweet, and he's hanging on the tree this year. I made a few others that are in components, but I didn't quite get them put together, and they're in a box upstairs. And then my niece this year sent us this, a COVID-19 Christmas ornament. And when I first looked at it, I thought, gosh, they left this open, so I guess you could put whatever year, but now I'm realizing this is a roll of toilet paper that rolls out, and that's what the COVID-19 is written on, and we all have our little mask on and our little hand sanitizer. But I thought that was really cute. So I have lots of haul. Since it's been a little while since I was on, a lot of haul. I got some wonderful stitchy Christmas gifts. A couple of things that are not necessarily stitching related, but things that I thought I would share. I guess what I'll start with is a couple of fully finished things that I completed, and I completed these just before Thanksgiving, and they're really more Thanksgiving related, but since you haven't seen them, unless you look at my Instagram page, I thought I would share these with you. This first one is Be Thankful by Teresa Kogut. This is one that she released for, if you're a patron on her Patreon, you would have received this as a free chart. She also sold this one as I think a $5 download off of her website. So you can probably, or her Etsy site, you might be able to still find that there. And this is my finish. I have it, it's fully finished, but I've seen what Vana does, and I have not done any trim on this. This is stuffed with walnut shells, but I thought it was really sweet. And I had this in a dough bowl. It didn't sound right. So that's my first one. Then I have this one that I just love. This is a little Pinker and Pumpkin. So Michelle at Pinker and Pumpkin designed this, and this was a free chart. I think it's called Turkey Manor House. I love the little quilted design stars and the house, and then the turkey sitting up on top. I thought this was really cute. Again, I completed it with just, I stitched around and then did kind of a invisible seam on the bottom. I do want to go back and add some trim on these, either Chanel or the mini palms. But I was good to get these complete and get them in the dough bowl in time for Thanksgiving. So I don't think I have an actual picture of that one without showing you the chart, but it is Pinker and Pumpkin Quilting, and it was Turkey Creek Manor was the name of that one. This is her and her information, her contact info, and I'll try to add that to the contact to the show notes below this. And then I also completed Thankful, and this is a Priscilla and Chelsea design, and I just added the little mini check on the front and back, and then did a little invisible seam here. Again, it's with walnut shells. My son said this would make a really good cornhole bag. So anyway, also one that I finished but did not fully finish is Happy Birthday Jesus by Teresa Kogut. This one again is a Patreon. It's for Patreon. Let's see if she says tiers 2, 3, and 4 received this chart in November as part of being part of her Patreon. This one is not currently available on her Etsy shop. She plans to, she began her Patreon in October, and so any charts that were released in October will be available in Patreon for 3 months. Then she is going to remove them from Patreon, and then sometime, I believe she said sometime next summer, she will probably take or begin collecting some of those Patreon charts and put them into a book, and then release that at some point, maybe later next year or the year after. So that is that, and let me see if I can find it in my stack of things that I have down here. Oh, here it is. Now I just used the colors that I had in my stash, and I also did not, as you can see from hers, she did Happy Birthday Jesus all in one color, and I did the Happy Birthday in a green and then Jesus in red, and I added, she has this star that dots the eye in the green, but I made it the same color as all the other stars. But that was really fun and easy to stitch. So I will have to do something to get that one finished, fully finished. Sorry for reaching. Another thing that I worked on, I began 911 stitcher, and I may have that backwards, whether it's stitching 911 or 911 stitching, but she has a channel and did a Carolyn Manning stitch along, and I did a start along, but I picked this Carolyn Manning chart. You could do any Carolyn Manning, and I particularly like this one, Carnival, and I began that this is, I cannot think of, I will put the information. This is a 16 count Ada or 18 count Ada. It may be picture, I think it's a Picture This Plus, but I cannot recall which design. It looks like it's a cream with kind of a very, kind of a sky blues modeling on it. And because when this is complete, I plan to probably frame it, and I will have some of this, the background fabric showing. I didn't want to do it on a plain white or a cream, so I wanted something that had some modeling. You'll see here on hers. It's similar, but hers has a great deal more of the color and the modeling. And I looked at this and I thought, man, it's a full coverage piece, but I thought this is going to be so difficult to stitch. But honestly, the charts are so easy to read. Everything is in a grid and super easy to read. And it's very easy to stitch. It's very fun to stitch, actually. I'm really enjoying this. I just haven't gotten enough time with it. And when I look at all the different things that I've been stitching, I'm like, what have I been doing? Because I honestly have been doing quite a bit of stitching. I just don't have a whole lot of things, I guess, to share to show you. I have some things that I'm not going to bother showing because I really haven't made enough progress on them. And this is a Silver Creek sampler that, or not a sampler, but it's from Silver Creek. And you'll see I've gotten further on this one than the previous times that I've shown it to you. I still have one bulb here. I just haven't figured out what color I'm going to do. It's probably going to be blue. The turkey will go here. And then with each of these words, there's something, you know, a picture that goes along with it. And I've not gotten very far, but this one, it's really easy to stitch. As you will recall, when I first started this piece, I started with some colors that I didn't have enough in my stash, so I had to order, and then everything was back ordered, and it just took a long time to get the floss. And then once I got the floss, I was into doing other things, and just I've been really hesitant about getting back to it because I knew that probably if I'd concentrated on only doing this particular stitch, I probably could have completed it by Christmas, but I was just kind of all over the place with things that I was working on. Oh, and in my lap, I also have, oh, this is a quilt that I did, gosh, years ago. It's a log cabin quilt. It's a Moda fabric. I don't recall what the fabric name, but it is just a log cabin and has the back in kind of a brown and pink little twirls there. And in my lap, this is a Christmas quilt table runner that I made, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. This was done with a jelly roll. And if you're not familiar with quilting, a jelly roll is 2.5-inch strips in one collection of fabrics, coordinating fabrics, and they are all twisted together and made into kind of a spiral, and they call those jelly rolls. So, and this is the back. It's done with just a bright red. I do not recall the name of this pattern, but it goes on my kitchen table every Christmas. So, thought I would share that. See if I have anything, oh, a couple other things here. I also was working on Waxing Moon's Search the Sky, and I really had hoped to complete this, but I didn't. But I did get more progress, so I'll show you that. I still have a ways to go, but this is what I've gotten done. Santa is mostly done. I still need to do his face and his mittens. I started doing some of the snowflakes. I couldn't remember which brown I had used for the reindeer, so that's the reason why I've kind of gotten to a point, and I thought, you know what, I've got to dig through and figure out what I used for the reindeer. Oh, and I did make Rudolph's nose red. It previously was black, and it's also charted to be black, but I used some red, the very shiny sparkly floss by DMC. I don't even know what it's called. Etoile? Something? I don't know. That may not be right. Probably embarrassing myself in my pronunciations too, but so I have that. And then I had ordered from the attic. I have loved, from the first time that I saw Lisa Smith, who is Kindred Stitcher, was doing G Leger, and I don't speak French, so I know I'm probably butchering that name, but this is it. G Leger 1898. Isn't it beautiful? I love the big gold pears and the red house. And I have never stitched a sampler, and I have never stitched in silk. So I've started this, and when I say start, that's really hardly a start. This is my start. So I've done just the very minimal corner. And this is done in silk. And again, I'll probably butcher the name of the silk that I'm using, but I will show it to you. This is the silk. really pretty colors. So this is, I'll put it in the notes below what I'm using. But so I'm excited to start this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Niecie Lynn had indicated that she was starting this, but I don't know if she actually has. I need to reach out to her to see if she has begun. I just started this yesterday. It took a long time for the attic to be able to, they were back ordered on the chart. They were missing some of the silks. They did not have the called for fabric, but they did choose another one. The fabric that I'm using is Fabric on a Whim, I think is the name of it, and I don't recall the color. I probably have it written down, but I will try to make note of that as well. Okay, so now the fun stuff. This is, I'm getting ready to show you things that I either purchased or were gifted to me either before Christmas or for Christmas, and super excited to be able to share a lot of this with you. One thing I'll tell you is my niece, I don't have any grandchildren. My son and daughter-in-law have been married about 2.5 years. So we don't have any grandchildren, but I do have, my niece has 3 little boys. And my sister, well, because my sister and I and my brother grew up in New Orleans before we moved to Birmingham, we keep a lot of the New Orleans traditions, and my sister wanted her grandmother name to be Sugar. And when she had her first grandson, my niece kept calling my sister Mom, but he was learning to call her Sugar, and so now his name for my sister is Sugar Ma, because that's what he thinks. You know, that's just now what she's called. You know, you can decide what your grandmother name's going to be all you want, but the kids are going to be the ones who decide what it's going to actually be. Like my dad's name, when I had our oldest son, who was my parents' first grandchild, and they were going to be Granny and Gramps. But my son couldn't say Gramps, and so he kept calling him Gaps. So his name became Gaps, although Gramps is what we would refer to him as. Jonathan always referred to him as Gaps. So anyway, my sister's grandchildren call me Honey. And so my husband found a Ray Dunn mug, Honey, and ordered that for me, which I thought was super sweet. And my sister found a Honey thermal coffee mug for me and gave it to me as part of my Christmas. So now I have those, although my kids have told me that my grandmother name will not be Honey. They don't want to call me Honey, so I don't know what it will be. I guess we'll decide when the time comes what that's going to be. But also my husband grew up over in Talladega, Alabama, and his family still lives on both sides of Logan Martin Lake. And so his brother and sister-in-law live on the Talladega side. My mother-in-law and 2 of my sister-in-laws all live over on the Pell City side. And my mother-in-law, who spent Christmas with us this year, brought gifts from Alabama, and one of my sister-in-laws who actually lives on the lake, she and her friend made us this cross, which is beautiful. It's probably about 18 inches tall, and it's made out of driftwood out of the lake. I just thought it was really beautiful. So that was one thing that we got. And then my son had asked me for some things, you know, Mom, what do you want for Christmas? And I try not to ever tell them anything that I really want, because typically I buy either what I want, and I also feel so guilty. I don't like my kids spending their money on me. But one thing that I had told my son that I would love to have is the Krynic custom quarter. If you've watched Vanna Pfeiffer, she's the Twisted Stitcher on FlossTube. She has all of these wonderful tutorials about how to finish your cross stitch into stockings, ornaments, the little pillows or whatnot. And she makes her own cording, and she uses, I don't know if it's this brand, this one's from Krynic, but she uses a quarter like this where you can make from DMC floss your own cording. And so you can see it's still in the package. This is something that I'm going to attempt to do, and maybe that cording is what I will use to finish my my little pillows. Also, I had ordered myself, I started attempting to make some project bags. I've seen so many, and there's so many people that are making them, but I sew, and I thought I can just make them, and as many projects as I have, I've been using these types of bags that I found on Amazon. And so these come in 10, 15, 12, various quantities for really inexpensive. They're about $1 a bag, maybe. Come in various colors. So those are on Amazon. But I treated myself to my first Goose project bag. Now this poor bag wound up in the Postal Service purgatory and sat in the Atlanta postal hub for weeks before it actually showed up at my home. I think I received this probably 2 or 3 days before Christmas. So even though, I just love the quality of her bags is wonderful. And I will tell you that the project bag that I have started is using the vinyl. It is very much this design, very similar design to this. But don't be fooled. These are difficult to make and worth every bit of the money that you pay to get these. Goose has been, I think she charges $25 for her bags, at least in 2020 she did, and she has free shipping. So, and this one is done with Priscilla's pretty plaids on the back and decorated on the front as well with Santa on the inside. But I'm excited to have this. I'm still gonna, attempt to complete my project bag, but working with the vinyl is difficult. It's not so much that it sticks. I did all the tricks to keep it from sticking to my machine, but one of the primary things that I had is where it looks so easy when you're inserting the vinyl between, there's two pieces of this plaid. In her case, it's plaid. Mine is not the one that I'm working on. But because this is vinyl, the front and the back piece need to align. And it's difficult where you think that you have them perfectly aligned. You may see the one that's on the inside slightly. It's also, I began as I was doing this stitching across, because I have a Bernina, but mine's a older Bernina. I've had it, since before my second child was born, and he's almost 28. So I've had it for quite some time, so I don't have a walking foot. I think if I had a walking foot, this stitch would be easier to do because your top and your bottom would be moving at the same rate. I was getting a little bit of bunching, so I had to take it out, and what I wound up doing is using a glue stick a sewing glue stick. I think you could probably use an Elmer's or, a school glue type stick. And I glued it first, just lightly glued it to the vinyl to make sure that it wasn't going to move as I did that stitch. And then that worked perfectly. So that's a little hint. If you are somebody who's making your own and you struggle with making sure that this is not moving as you're doing your stitching, try to use a little bit of glue, and it does help hold that in place. But I love this. This is a great project bag. My son also got me, because I follow Priscilla and Chelsea, I got a Stitching with the Housewives t-shirt. So I was really excited to get this. And my son also gave one to my sister. So I've talked about my sister a couple of times on the channel, saying that she doesn't cross stitch. She had cross stitched a long time ago, probably back in the 80s when I started stitching, and then she didn't stitch for probably the last 40 years. But since she has seen that I had picked this back up, she was particularly interested in punch needle, and she bought herself the punch needle and a frame and some of the weaver's cloth. But I don't know that she's actually begun doing the punch needle yet. But she got interested in Priscilla and Chelsea with Stitching with the Housewives, and has started cross-stitching some of their pieces. So my older son Jonathan ordered my sister one of their t-shirts as well. So, but speaking of punch needle, I said that was one thing that I was not going to do. I was trying my best not to do that. But the struggle is real, people. I got the Morgan hoops, and I also ordered myself the punch needle, the Ultra Punch. And you can see they're still in their packaging. I had these arrived probably around Thanksgiving, because I thought if my sister's going to do it, I might as well do it too. And I've watched a number of tutorials, and I'm thinking that doesn't look that difficult, but I've been a little intimidated about getting it started. So I have not done that. I also ordered, because I'm intending to do punch needle, I ordered a whole bolt of fabric. I found it's, when you're buying individual cuts of fabric, there's such a big markup on it. And I found somebody who was selling it wholesale retail. And so I paid about $5 a yard. I think I bought a 10 yard. I think there's 10 yards on the bolt for less than $50. So anyway, it's weaver's cloth. It's the same quality. It's, is what, the shops sell. And so my sister and I are going to split that bolt. I told her that I had ordered a whole bolt if she wanted half of it, and we can kind of learn how to do this together. So maybe at some point I might be able to get her to come on my FlossTube, and if she likes doing FlossTube, maybe we'll wind up doing a sister act. Who knows? Kind of like Stitching with the Sisterlies. We shall see. So I also had ordered, let's see if I can get my floss together here, Midnight Watch. I'd seen so many people stitch this Blackbird design, Midnight Watch. Obviously this is a Halloween stitch, but it was out of stock. I think it had gone out of print for a period of time, but Blackbird Designs brought it back, and I ordered it online. And when I did, I also ordered it with the floss. So these are the special fancy flosses in order to complete it. And I ordered this from, who did I order this from? Needle Arts and Hearts. No, Needle Art on Hearts, I think. Even with my glasses on. Needle Art on, oh, needle art on charts. Sorry. So, so anyway, I'm excited about this. This is not something I'm going to work on immediately, but I do hope to have this stitched in time for Halloween. So I've got 10 months, people. Let's see if I can get that done. It'll probably get buried in all of my other things, but hopefully I'll remember that I have that and get that done. Some other things. I had ordered a number of pieces. Sorry if this bag's rattling and bothering you. I ordered a lot of very small cuts of different fabrics from 1-2-3 Stitch because I have a lot of small things and I don't like them all looking the same. And I also wanted to try different colors, some different manufacturers of linen. And unfortunately, I mean, everything that I wound up getting, I believe, is Weeks Dye Works. And so I ordered all of these little small pieces. Most of these cuts are 13, no, the biggest one I have is 13 by 17. Most of these are like 8 by 12. Yeah, 8 by 12 or 9 by 13 for the most part. But I wanted to just have lots of different small cuts to give me different options. And so I have these in my stash. Also, I'm on Brandy with Bestitch Me. I'm in her Fabric of the Month Club, and I do Lugana. The last month, I think, was October that I had received, and that was Peanut. And this time it's called, and I still have this in, I just received this yesterday. I think it came yesterday. Winter Blues. It's a beautiful blue. That's pretty true to color. You see, it just light modeling on this, but it's really a beautiful shade of blue. This also was stuck in the purgatory of the post office. Another chart that I had purchased, and I have a number of charts that I've purchased since I've last done a FlossTube, but this one that I could grab quickly is Waxing Moon Designs Patriot House Trio. And if you follow Niecie Lynn, Niecie did this as one piece. She had the America in the middle. America was in the middle, and then she kind of had the other two on each side. And I think she left, you know, just maybe 2 stitches or 3 stitches. You can go on Niecie's, look back on her floss tubes, and you'll, in the show notes from one of them, you'll see a picture of her holding up the finished piece. And in that particular one, she has all the stitch count that she had used to complete that. So I also am in a couple of Floss of the Month clubs. And, well, this one is not a Floss of the Month. This is the spring. I don't know if it's called anything more than spring, but it is a floss bundle from Fat Quarter Shop that my son also had ordered me. My son and his partner sent this to me. And I love the colors. Lots of different things here. But it's really pretty. And then I also am in 2 or 3 Floss of the Month clubs, but 2 of them arrived. This one came from Crazy Annie Stitching. This, I think, is my October, no, maybe November bundle. trying to spread that out. These 6 came from her. And then I'm also in the Southern Stitchers, Whitley. These are the ones that came from her. She's in Virginia. These are very Christmassy, holiday colors. So I was excited to get those to add to my stash. And then yesterday also, I received my Just Cross Stitch magazine. This is the February issue. And there's a couple of things that I'll just point out, things that jumped out at me. There's a number of different things that are really pretty. This one says, My Eternal Love. Oops, my middle page came loose in my magazine, but I thought that was pretty. I love the kind of scroll work that's on that one. And then there's a sampler in here from like 1812, I think it is. No, 1815, called the 1815 On Youth Reproduction Sampler. And that's really pretty. And then that's just the information page. And then there was one other that I was going to share, if I can put my hands on it real quickly. And I'm not going to be able to probably. Oh well, we'll just skip over that, but there's a lot of interesting things, cute designs. But the thing that I'm holding to last, my husband really surprised me with a Christmas gift that he ordered for me. Sorry about the squeaking, there's styrofoam on this. He shocked me, knowing how much I love Teresa Kogut and her patterns, her angels particularly. He ordered me this. Isn't she beautiful? Now, of course, I'm telling you how beautiful she is, and then I'll tell you that my husband said that he saw it and she reminded him of me. And I said, maybe the younger me, but isn't she beautiful? Her name, it's called Peaceful, and it's on stretched canvas. And he was worried because Teresa, he saw me watching Teresa's Creative Whims. Teresa Kogut Creative Whims is her FlossTube. And she was talking about how people had complained because they were having trouble getting things that they had ordered from her, and that they had wanted them for Christmas. And I said, did you call and complain? And he said, no, I did not call and complain, but I was concerned because he knew that it was in the system. But again, this was in purgatory. And it arrived, I think he said he got it 2 days before Christmas, even though he had ordered it weeks and weeks before Christmas. Just our poor postal service. I mean, if UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service have just been struggling to be able to get packages on time, because everybody's at home, nobody's shopping in stores, everybody's doing their shopping online. And which is wonderful for the retailers who have online stores, but it's, everybody is just getting frustrated, and, there's nothing we can do. We just need to be peaceful and know that things are going to get there eventually. I still have a couple of things that have not arrived that have been ordered for some time. Actually, one thing that's really funny, I had done a lot of baking and cookie baking and things, which I do every Christmas, and I do I mean, I didn't even do as much as I normally do, but I still did a lot for one person. And I had, because my oldest son was not coming home for Christmas this year, first time he's not been home, and I sent him, I boxed up a big priority mail box of, Christmas cookies for him. And then we didn't know at that time that my mother-in-law would be coming to spend Christmas with us. So she's over in Alabama, about just over 2 hours away from us. And I packaged a whole box of Christmas cookies and fudge and candies and things that we had made to send to her. So because we live in Georgia, my husband and I went and voted the first day of early voting, which was, I think, the 14th of December. It was a Monday. If that's the 14th, then that was the day that we had gone. And then we took those 2 boxes to the post office. And because we were doing them priority 2-day mail, we thought they're going to, get to their location. And they said that they would be there on Thursday, both the one going to Alabama and the one going to California. And so we had tracking on them, and I was watching and I thought, I don't know if they're going to make it or not, and I was concerned because they're perishable, and we tried to pack them really airtight to keep them fresh. And my son got his in California on Thursday the 17th, but late in the day. I mean, it came late, but still it arrived on the 17th, and I was really kind of concerned whether it would or not, going all the way to California. But then I checked the priority mail tracking on my mother-in-law's, and it was still sitting in Atlanta on that Thursday. Had not even left Atlanta. It left our post office, but had gone to one of the hubs. And if you've seen online all the pictures of the hubs, they are just stacks and stacks of boxes. And so we kept checking, and every day or two I would check, and hers was still sitting in Atlanta. And so then my mother-in-law comes here Wednesday before Christmas, and my sister-in-law calls on Christmas Eve. The box of cookies had just been delivered. So it took them 10 days. I paid for 2-day service, but it took them 10 days to get there. My sister-in-law called from Alabama and said, the box of cookies has gotten here. Do you think they're okay to eat? I said, we're still eating ours. They've been in Tupperware containers or Rubbermaid containers. And I said, we're still eating them. So I had packaged them so airtight, I was sure that they were fine, but still a little frustrating that they had gotten there, but at least they did, So I'd sent them to my mother-in-law, but at that point she was here, so she got to enjoy the cookies, but she got to enjoy them here at our house, and maybe there'll still be some left when she gets home. My husband is actually not here today. He's taken my mother-in-law back, meeting my sister-in-law and brother-in-law at the Alabama-Georgia line to exchange my mother-in-law. And I'm really surprised. I've got 3 dogs who are here. One's laying right behind the camera. It's my son's dog, who spent the last year with us because when he was home last Christmas, it was too cold for her to fly back home. So she stayed, thinking she'd only be here for maybe a couple of months till he could come back and get her. But then we had COVID, and so she has spent the last year with us, and she's 11 years old now, and I don't want her flying anymore. She has a thyroid condition, so she's on medication for that, and my husband takes her walking and stuff, but she gets a little winded and, starting to show her age, so she's laying right behind the camera on the sofa. And then we have 2 other, and she's Australian Shepherd, and she's the big sister of our older dog, Lily, who I saw walk up the stairs just a bit ago. And so she's probably laying at the top of the stairs or maybe on my bed, guarding the house from upstairs. And then we have our 3rd Australian Shepherd, who I think is laying in the dining room window. So she just lays on the floor and looks out our dining room window, kind of guarding the front of the house. And actually, she may have heard me mention her because I see her moving about in there. But thankfully, none of them have gone berserk with their barking, because once they start barking, they do not stop. They just will bark and bark and bark. But we do enjoy having them here. But I think that is pretty much everything that I have to share. I've got lots of things in progress. I will probably, my New Year's start will probably be my G Leger that I began yesterday. I'll consider that my New Year's start, and hopefully try to get some things completed. I would love to start stitching ahead for Easter, maybe Valentine's Day. My younger son and his wife will be moving into their new house here in just over a month, so we'll be trying to help get them moved and settled during that time. So lots of fun things coming. We're still working from home full time, my husband and I. No date established yet to return to the office. We'll keep our Christmas up for probably maybe till next weekend, and probably take it down just before or right about New Year's, or maybe that weekend. And other than that, I guess that's it. We've gone about 51, almost 52 minutes, and I think that's plenty of time to sit and listen to me. So the one thing I do plan is I hope to be more consistent with my FlossTube videos, and maybe I'll be back with you next weekend right after the new year. So thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. Go and make a difference in someone's life, and let's all hope that we have a very happy and blessed new year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, guys. Thanks.